a deadly virus that can bring the dead back to life has swept across the globe, turning bloodthirsty zombies into the new rulers of the world. In a city surrounded by water on three sides, the last bastion of human survivors stands. However, even in this zombie-infested apocalypse, the social hierarchy remains intact. The rich and powerful, led by Kaufman, live in a luxurious high-rise at the heart of the city, continuing their pre-disaster lavish lifestyles. In contrast, the poor and powerless struggle to survive in the slums outside the tower, barely scraping by. There is also a special mercenary squad that regularly risks their lives, venturing outside the city to gather supplies and ensure the survival of those inside. On one such mission, the squad leader, Riley, makes a shocking discovery. The zombies appear to be evolving. A Big Daddy zombie is seen performing tasks it once did as a human. Even more startling, it is capable of simple communication with its fellow undead. Riley and his team are left in disbelief at the sight. Despite this revelation, Riley focuses on his mission, leading his team to gather supplies under the cover of darkness. They choose nighttime because they've learned that the zombies have a peculiar fascination. They are mesmerized by fireworks. As long as fireworks are going off, the zombies stand still, hypnotized, oblivious to everything around them. Taking advantage of this distraction, the squad eliminates nearby zombies and moves to their designated spot to collect supplies. However, they fail to notice that Big Daddy Zombie is not affected by the fireworks. As it watches its comrades fall one by one to the human's trap, it grows increasingly enraged, stomping its feet and trying to wake them. All efforts are in vain, and Big Daddy Zombie can only let out a furious roar. Just then, the fireworks system malfunctions, and the zombies begin to stir. For their safety, Riley's team is forced to cut the mission short and retreat. Their heavily armed, modified bus plows through the undead, carving a bloody path for their escape. But before they can leave, the squad's second-in-command, Cholo, disobeys Riley's orders to retreat. Along with two teammates, he heads to a liquor store. In this apocalyptic world, alcohol is a rare and valuable commodity, useful not only for trade but also as a bribe for the wealthy elite. Just as Cholo opens the liquor cabinet, a zombie suddenly lunges at him. His teammates try to help but can't get a clear shot. Fortunately, Cholo is battle-hardened and pulls out a crossbow bolt to shoot the zombie. However, while one of the team members was picking up a fallen cigar, a zombie hiding under the counter bit his arm. As they exited the store, Cholo noticed that his teammate had been bitten. At that moment, Riley arrived, quickly shooting the zombie before rushing over to assess the situation. Realizing that his teammate didn't want to turn into a zombie, the teammate chose to end his own life. The team, now down one member, was forced to end their mission early. As they retreated, some members couldn't resist taunting the zombies, but Big Daddy Zombie wasn't going to let it slide. It snatched a handgun from one of the team members. Watching the team leave, Big Daddy Zombie let out a furious roar, vowing revenge. It assumed the role of a zombie leader and began to gather a horde, following closely behind. Though the team had gathered plenty of supplies during the mission, Cholo's reckless actions had cost them a teammate and nearly put the whole squad in jeopardy. Riley, frustrated, scolded Cholo, but Cholo remained unfazed. His motivations were clear. He was desperate to escape the slums and live in the high-rise at the city center, just like the wealthy elite. With that goal in mind, Cholo brought the hard-earned liquor to Kaufman, the founder of the safe zone, hoping to use it as a bribe for entry into the tower. However, Kaufman dismissed Cholo's efforts without a second thought. Kaufman coldly informed Cholo that his name was not on the list for those allowed to live in the tower. Despite all his hard work and dedication, enraged by this, Cholo confronted Kaufman, but the confrontation quickly escalated when Kaufman called security to throw him out. The two parted on bad terms, fearing that Cholo could become a future problem. Kaufman decided not to let him leave alive, but when the guards tried to kill him, Cholo swiftly turned the tables and eliminated them. Meanwhile, Riley and Charlie headed to a local entertainment venue. Here, even zombies had become tools for amusement. They witnessed people throwing an unarmed girl into an arena to fight a zombie. Riley, unable to stand the cruelty, immediately shot the zombie, causing chaos to break out in the venue. Chihuahua, the manager of the entertainment venue, saw someone causing trouble and aimed his gun at Charlie, but he shot a panicked passerby instead. Chihuahua had no idea he had crossed the wrong people. Charlie, a sharpshooter, made his signature move and, amid the chaotic crowd, shot and killed Chihuahua with a single bullet. He and Riley managed to rescue Slack, but the cost was getting arrested by the local soldiers responsible for keeping order. Chihuahua worked for Kaufman, who wouldn't tolerate any disruptions in his profitable ventures. Slack, once a soldier herself, had been reduced to one of Kaufman's money-making tools due to her striking appearance. At the same time, unbeknownst to everyone, the zombie leader had led its horde to the outskirts of the safe zone. Under its command, the other zombies seemed to be evolving as well. One zombie, wielding a butcher's knife, quickly hacked through a barricade. The zombie leader moved in to inspect the area, only to be startled by what it found. This was a shooting range where humans practiced on zombies as live targets. Enraged, the leader let out a furious roar. Meanwhile, Cholo, having left Kaufman's tower after their fallout, arrived at an outer checkpoint with a few comrades. He had no choice but to leave the safe zone for good, now that Kaufman had become his enemy. Suddenly, the soldier on watch heard a strange noise. Just as he picked up a spotlight to investigate, the zombie leader appeared. His scream sent the entire checkpoint into high alert, and within moments, a massive wave of zombies crashed against the outer fence. Despite heavy gunfire, the zombies worked together and tore the fence down in no time. As the undead swarmed in, the soldiers were quickly overwhelmed, but instead of fighting back, Cholo used the chaos to make his escape in an armored vehicle. The zombie leader, witnessing this, accidentally triggered the rifle it was holding. Realizing its newfound ability, it fired wildly at the escaping vehicle. Although the shots didn't stop the armored car, the zombie leader wasn't about to give up. Its ultimate target was the people inside the safe zone. Meanwhile, Cholo, now safely out of danger, immediately called Kaufman, threatening to destroy the central tower with his armored vehicle unless Kaufman paid him $5 million. Kaufman, who valued money above all else, refused to give in. Instead, he ordered his men to release Riley from the jail and tasked him with capturing Cholo and bringing back the armored vehicle. Though Riley didn't want to work for Kaufman, he reluctantly agreed, knowing it was the only way to protect the civilians in the safe zone. However, Kaufman didn't fully trust Riley. He sent 3 soldiers along, supposedly to assist, but their real job was to keep an eye on him. The group soon reached the checkpoint that had just been attacked. As they prepared to leave in a car, one of the soldiers was suddenly bitten by a zombie that had appeared out of nowhere. After dispatching the zombie, they hurriedly set off again. To prevent the bitten soldier from turning, Slack shot and killed him on the way, leaving the remaining members to continue toward the meeting point. Meanwhile, a large group of zombies had already gathered by the river. Once they crossed it, they would be directly on the path to the safe zone. The zombie leader decisively jumped into the water, following its lead. The other zombies imitated it, quickly resurfacing and swimming to the other side of the river. Humans never imagined that zombies could swim. As the horde flooded into the safe zone, the first to suffer were the slums outside the central building. The helpless survivors could only flee, but with so many zombies, even the soldiers had to fight while retreating. In the end, they couldn't escape their fate of death. As the time for the trade drew near, Cholo hadn't seen the person bringing the money, so he prepared to launch the missile at any moment. At the critical moment, Riley finally arrived at the meeting point. Cholo recognized Riley as Kaufman's envoy and immediately took both of them hostage. At that moment, Cholo realized Kaufman never intended to pay him. Enraged, he was ready to launch the missile. Riley tried to talk Cholo out of his reckless decision, pointing out that there were many innocent survivors in the safe zone. However, Cholo stubbornly stuck to his plan, but when he pressed the button, the missile didn't launch. It turned out Riley had used a remote control to disable the weapon system. After all, Riley had designed the armored vehicle himself, so he knew it better than anyone. Furious, Cholo grabbed Riley and started beating him, but Riley kicked him off the vehicle. With Charlie's help, Riley successfully took control of the armored vehicle, but as he turned to look at the city, he saw the safe zone engulfed in flames. Sensing something terrible had happened, Riley prepared to return to the safe zone to rescue the survivors. However, Cholo did not intend to go with them, but instead prepared to go elsewhere with one of his underlings. Unfortunately, shortly after Riley's group left, Cholo was bitten by a zombie that had appeared out of nowhere. Though he managed to kill the zombie, his fate was sealed. Rather than turning into a zombie, Cholo decided he'd confront Kaufman before the mutation took hold. His henchmen dropped him off at an outpost and left alone. While inside the safe zone, the zombies continued their rampage. After overrunning the slums, the zombies picked up tools from the ground and made their way to the central building. Using the tools, they smashed through the reinforced glass, breaking the final barrier in an instant. In the end, the rich couldn't escape the zombie onslaught, and the central building turned into a living hell. As Kaufman was preparing to escape, he reached the first floor, only to be greeted by a terrifying sight. He emptied his clip at the zombie leader, but it did no harm, only serving to enrage it further. Kaufman and his assistant rushed to the underground parking lot to escape by car, but the zombie leader was right behind them. Seeing the zombie, the assistant bolted, leaving Kaufman trapped inside the car. Unable to open the car door, the zombie leader grabbed a gas pump, smashed the windshield, and poured gasoline into the car before leaving the garage. Kaufman, not understanding what was happening, quickly got out of the car, carrying 2 bags of money, and tried to continue his escape. At that moment, a zombie appeared behind him. Cholo, now fully transformed. The zombie Cholo pounced on Kaufman, but before they could wrestle, the leader of the zombies returned with a Molotov cocktail. 1 person and 1 corpse perished together. Meanwhile, under the relentless zombie attacks, only a few survivors remained. They had hoped to escape the safe zone, but an electrified fence blocked their way. To make matters worse, a massive horde of zombies was closing in, leaving them no choice but to stand in place, awaiting death. At that crucial moment, fireworks suddenly lit up the sky. Riley and his group had returned. However, this time the fireworks failed to distract the zombies. After a brief pause, the horde resumed its attack on the humans. When the armored vehicle arrived at the fence, Riley and his group were greeted by a horrific scene. Every last survivor had been devoured by the zombies. To end their suffering, Riley had no choice but to order the missile to be fired. After a massive explosion, they saw the zombie leader leading a large horde in the distance. Yet, Riley chose not to launch another attack. In his eyes, the zombies, like humans, were just fighting to survive. In the end, Riley drove an armored car and took the few remaining people with him to start a path of survival to the north.